much, so I should say actually Wilma. Isn't that right?
Dag Wilma, welkom.
Dankjewel.
Teacher tutoring in New York. I'm gonna tell you what WEVER does and how wonderful all the things are that she's busy with. So Wilma is a Bachelor of Music, Master of Arts, NETS, NISTA and AGMA member, is the founder of Performance Empowering, PEP, and conducts workshops for peak performance in the US and internationally. Wilma is currently adjunct professor of Marymount Manhattan College and is on the voice faculty of AMDA, the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York, where she teaches individual voice to the integrated students, voice technique classes to the acting and dance majors, and performance empowering for career success and peak performance for all majors. Wilma Weaver is an active performer and has been recognized by the New York Times for being attractive and engaging in the world premiere in the eponymous role of Jocasta, an opera by Ruth Schontal with a voice and vision theater in New York City. Also in New York, she debuted with Encompass Opera as the Marchesa enhances the end of a world and performed Miss Edison in a reading of Tesla, an opera by Kieveman, for Vox, a presentation of new works by New York City Opera. In addition to her operatic roles such as Ariadne in Ariadne on Naxos, Leonora in Fidelio, Leonora in Il Trovatore, all the easy roles, you know. Miss Weaver has performed numerous concerts and recitals in the Netherlands and in New York in distinguished venues such as the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam, Holland, and Weil Recital Hall at Carnegie Hall. The music connoisseur called her a performer with savvy and grit. So we are super excited to have you, Wilma, talk to our students and our visitors, our listeners and observers about music empowerment. Empowering, forgive me. The word goes to you.
Thank you so much, Susanne and Axel and Miriam, for having me here. I am maybe even more excited than you are at the other side of the ocean. I have to say that I always tell my students to see the positive in any negative experience, what I not always find easy, but we can only try. And I have to say, in this, ongoing horrific pandemic, maybe the beautiful thing is that we artists can connect and can inspire each other from all over the globe. And I'm very grateful for that. So, so thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for being here with us.
So I'm going to, I have, a lot of slides for you ready, but before I start, I want to give you a little background on how I arrived here to teach performance empowering. I'm just one technical question for Miriam. I'm getting a lot of in and outs on the screen. So is there any way that I can stop seeing the activity of coming in and out people? I don't know how to do that.
I'm sorry, I think it's because they are joining with the mic on, and then for whatever small noise that we are having, then there's this jump on the screen. Right. So I just ask people, please mute yourselves when you join.
Okay. In the right corner, in the right upper corner of your screen, you should see view. And there you can decide what kind of view you get, Wilma.
Okay, yeah. So I have only speaker and gallery. So I guess I go for speaker, then, it's in the top.
I would say, yes.
Sorry for the little interruption. I, love hearing Susanne telling all the wonderful things I did, but that's not how I started performance empowering. So I'm going back in time for a moment. I started singing quite late. I was already 30 after I had been a nurse, a general nurse in several hospitals in Amsterdam. And I decided I wanted to change careers and become a professional singer. Now I realized that I didn't take the usual route. So I decided to consult a distinguished voice teacher at the Zweelink in Amsterdam, how to, go forward with my, my plan and my goals. So when I met with her, she didn't ask me to sing for her, but she told me I was too old. Yes. So, well, luckily, I didn't get that easily discouraged. So I packed my bags and I went to New York City. And I auditioned here. I got accepted at Mannes College of Music. I graduated with honors. I got my first professional contract, actually, before I graduated, in the lead role of Jocasta in the world premiere. And had a couple of other wonderful successes. So my career took off splendidly. And I did suffer from performance anxiety, but not to such a degree that I could not continue. I mean, it did bother me, but it didn't stop me. Until one day I was asked to sing, "O thou that tellest good tidings to Zion," from the Messiah. And I got a blackout. And it was the most horrific experience I ever had as a performer. I'm sure people here who are performers, that's our, worst dream, that we, are performing and things, go wrong. I have to say, I went somehow on automatic pilot and did finish my performance, but from there on, I was terrified to get back on the stage. So I decided to, find ways that, I could go back to my passion and share fantastic music, especially contemporary music, what I really love. So I went on a new journey of finding out about neuroscience, about brain plasticity, about the science of happiness. And I studied performance wellness at the New School. I studied the science of happiness at Berkeley University. So I did a lot of study and hand-on courses and read every book and every article that was out there about how I could get back on the stage. And I did. So, and from that experience, I, realized that that I was not the only one. I, talked with other people, and we singers, we performers, it's very strange. We think that we have to have the natural talent of feeling at ease in the spotlight, and that's not true. Professional athletes, politicians, CEOs, these people have their personal coaches to help them with their mindset and to create peak performance. Who is there for us? So I decided to start Performance Empowering, actually after I first co-founded Stage Fright Solutions. But I discovered that actually stage fright starts way earlier. It's not in that moment. You already have the wrong mindset far before you get on the stage. And that's why I developed the B.O.U.N.C.E tools. These tools have helped me to get back on the stage and teaching voice at different colleges here in New York. I discovered that if you want to make a successful career in the arts, you need the right mindset. And so I am here today to share with you the B.O.U.N.C.E tools. And I am very excited about this because, as I said, I myself learned through applying these tools to my daily life, because I have to warn you for that, it's not magic. like everything else you do in life or you want to become an expert in, like singing or acting or whatever it is, you need to practice. And that's the same with the B.O.U.N.C.E tools. You cannot say, okay, I do it just, once before a performance and then I'll fix my problem. No, it's really, you have to integrate it in your life. So that's just the way it is, but it's fun. So here we go. I'm going to try to share my screen and see what happens. Right. Everybody sees that? All right. So I'm going to click this now away. All right, very good. So performance empowering. I actually designed this little logo myself, where I'm pretty proud of. And it's all the positive verbs and nouns about, what we are after, to be courageous, to be in control, to have confidence, etc. So I didn't mention that I also wrote a book, Turn Your Struggles into Assets, Fundamental Bounds for Every Performer. It's not yet out, but I hope to see it published, by the end of this year. So I'm going to start with a question for you, and you don't have to answer this out loud, but I want you to think about this. So the questions are as follows. I am able, or you have to answer them. Can you say this? I am able to quiet my negative chatter. I bounce back easily from unfortunate circumstances. I am not afraid of failing. I have no problem staying focused. And I know how to give my best under pressure. Now, if you scored a 10 for all of them, then I allow you to leave and drink a glass of wine and have a good time. But if you didn't, then I invite you to stay. So the next slide is actually a quote by Joseph Parent, author of Zen Golf. And actually this was one of the first books I read, and reading this quote was kind of a realization for me that I had a fragile mind, because he says, go ahead, pump iron, do Pilates. Just remember, 1,000,000 crunches cannot make up for a fragile mind. And I thought, like, whoa. I had done my Pilates, I had done my my crunches, my vocal crunches, but I never had paid attention to my mind. And I realized that you need a certain mindset to make it in a stressful career, as the performing career is. So, so I'm here today to explain to you the B.O.U.N.C.E tools that you can understand and develop and apply in your careers and lives. I read in the Christa Ludwig's In My Own Voice, she said, singers make great careers as much by using their heads as by using their voices. By the way, I just want to say I use the word singers a lot because I am a singer and I work mainly with singers, but I also work with dancers and I have worked with instrumentalists. So all these tools are, as you can apply them to any performance career. So don't think that this is just for singers. So the B.O.U.N.C.E tools are as follows. Build your foundation, the B of build your foundation, observe your mind, use your strengths, nurture happiness, calm your nervous system, and excel in the spotlight. So why is this important? Well, for the following. Even with the most amazing willpower, we don't always do what we say we want to do, because the subconscious mind drives our behavior. By evolution, we are motivated to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. You might, know that, and I find this always very remarkable, when you go to the gym in January, the gym is packed because, so many people are, deciding that they want to get in shape and get healthy. But through the year, the gym gets more and more quiet, because it's not pleasurable, it's painful, and it costs a lot of energy. So, so we have to find ways, And even, wanting to become, a star performer, that doesn't mean that it's easy to make the steps to get there. So we have to accomplish the necessary steps to build and sustain a successful career. It's actually interesting. I want to add that to, that people, that our subconscious mind drives our behavior, because it seems that this is an research. I'm going to find the right numbers for you. Give me a second here. That only 8% of New Year's resolutions are carried out through the year. Only 8%. And 25% of these desired goals already fail in the first week of the year. So that's why we need tools to help us to go after our goals. So let's look at tool 1. Understanding and developing the craft to succeed, the B of B.O.U.N.C.E, building your foundation for success with grit, guts, snapback, focus, and attitude. And these skills are developing mental toughness. And you need mental toughness in this business because, you have to audition, you get rejected, you have to audition, you get rejected, you do live performances, it's a lot of stress. So you need mental toughness in order to continue. So let's look at grit. Grit is actually as important as talent. So, if you are a very talented student, great, but realize that just being talented in your art is not enough. You need also the mental skills. And that's a talent too, to have grit. So sticking with your future, day in and out, and not just for the week, for the month, but for years. And this is from a book by Angela Duckworth. She wrote a whole book about grit and how to create it and how to use it in your life. So you can see grit also as a combination of passion, resilience, perseverance, being tough, hanging in. It is basically delaying your gratification. So we need grit to override our subconscious mind that is looking for pleasure and avoiding pain and that wants to conserve energy. So we need to find a way to sacrifice desired pleasures in the moment to ensure more significant gains in the future. So now, how can you build grit? Let's look. Focus on the future. So if you feel like, oh, today is the first beautiful day after a long cold winter, I'm going out with my friends and have a picnic in the park, but you actually have an audition scheduled for next week and you really need to prepare that. So are you going with the pleasure of going out to the park, or are you going to say, no, wait a second, I'm focusing on my future because if I do that audition well, it will bring me closer to my goals, to my professional goals. Then write down your short and long-term goals because it can sometimes be very overwhelming, all the things you need to do and that you sometimes feel discouraged by the many steps you have to take to get, where your dream leads you. So if you can write down what your goals are for this week, for this month, or for this semester, or whatever amount of time you want to, and you have to adjust them constantly because they will change. And also make sure that you know what your long-term goals are, because if you know why you are putting this hard work in, then it's a little easier. So I invite you to write these things down and not just think them in your head, because that usually doesn't stick. I really encourage you to buy yourself a notebook and to really save for building your mental toughness. Then practice gratitude, compassion, and pride. And this is actually a really interesting research, forgive me, by David Desteno, who also is a grit specialist. And, you know, it's not easy to say, okay, I'm going out and build grit, because how do you do that? Now, he found that if you practice gratitude, and again, that's a very simple thing to do. You can, you know, in the morning or in the evening or whenever is a good moment for you, to just write down 3 things in the day that you feel grateful about, and make that a practice, because it really makes a difference. Have compassion for other people, compassion for yourself. It turns out actually that compassion encourages social connections. And when people have social connections, they actually feel better, they feel happier. And when you feel happier, you know, are more willing to take risks and to take on new steps. So compassion is an important step in building practice. And also pride. Be aware of the things you accomplish, and they really don't need to be, you know, big accomplishments like, you know, winning a competition or, you know, being accepted in your dream conservatory. It can be small little things that, you know, you did a good job in a rehearsal today, or, you know, your teacher singled you out and said, you know, was proud of your work. These are things you can write down, because this awareness will help you to build grit. And then, of course, cultivate hope about the outcome of your goals. If you are not hopeful about, you know, what you envision for yourself in the future, then what's the point in working on it? So cultivating hope is very important. And again, it can be very simple things that you can write down for yourself, like I get better every day. I mean, everybody can say that. I mean, because it's true. If you know, do your best and you work on your expertise, you will get better. My problems have solutions, or I forgive myself for my mistakes. I believe in my goals and dreams, and so on. And that really does help you in building grit. I don't know if you're familiar with the bass baritone Ryan Speedo Green, a young African-American singer at the Metropolitan Opera. And this young fellow had actually a very rough childhood. He was even in jail for 2 months, but he loved singing, and he told his teachers, I am going to sing at the Met one day. And you know what? He did. So that's grit. So let's look at the next one, guts. How to build guts. And what is guts? Guts is the same as courage, boldness, lef for the Dutchies under us, lef. You have to have lef to, you know, move forward and to make bold steps. And the interesting thing is these steps are really not difficult in themselves, but only in the mind. And so we have to make these changes in our mind by repetition of these steps to make new connections in the brain cells to make it our new self. So Brene Brown, she's an inspirational speaker. She said, you can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you cannot choose both. So I would say go for the courage. Another important one to build guts is dare to make mistakes. I like the quote by Theodore Roosevelt, who said, the only man who makes no mistakes is the man who never does anything. That's easy, right? So when we learn, we make mistakes. And because we make mistakes, we learn. So it's an ongoing path moving forward. Then the next step is building snapback. Now read this one. Disappointments and rejections are unavoidable, especially in the arts. Snapback is the key. And that's from Renee Fleming. And we all know how successful Renee Fleming has been and still is. She's still an active singer. She actually said this in an interview with Candy Palmater, a host on Studio Q. And she was talking about the difficult times in her career, especially the setback she had in 1988 when she was singing in Milan, and she was booed by her audience. Can you imagine? So, and she said something else what I thought was very interesting. She said, know that the better you do and the more successful you get, the more people will be there to bring you down. So snapback is not just for beginners. It really is something what you need to have in order to get to move forward and to build on your success. Another example of snapback is Lorin Maazel, renowned conductor, who was also booed by a furious audience in Berlin in 1966 during a performance he did of Fidelio. And whatever happened, the chorus and the orchestra went in separate directions. So we had to stop and, bring them together again. Not something you like to do as a conductor, but imagine if he didn't have snapback. Had not had snapback. Lauren is not with us anymore. We would never have had a fantastic conductor as Lorin Maazel. And then one more example I'd like to share with you, Pavarotti, who actually had a disastrous concert in his early career in Ferrara. I think it was in the early 60s. He had a vocal problem and, his singing was not very good. So, but he actually came to a really interesting realization because of that, disaster. He was so tense about building a career, so he put too much effort in it that it actually affected his body. As we all know, if we try too hard, we get stiff and tight. He found his real technique after he realized that the way he approached his career was not the correct one. So he snapped back from his setback. So very important to keep that in mind, because if you are a beginning performer or a very experienced performer, we all experience setbacks, because that's what life is, unfortunately. But the good thing is we can snap back from a setback. So bouncing back from a snapback, what can you do? First of all, accept you're not perfect. I always say to my students, don't go for perfection, but for excellence. And you can strive for excellence, but not for perfection. Because first of all, there is no such thing as perfection. And every day, our best is going to be different, because one day we are in great voice, another day maybe a not such great voice. One day we work with a fantastic team of people, and the next day maybe not so. So there are every day when you perform, it's going to be a different best. So give your best and realize that life can throw a curveball at you. Things we are not expecting, but they are happening. But you can get through and move on. I love this one. Write down your accomplishments, achievements, compliments, and things that make you proud. So I always, when I do workshops, I tell my students, get a beautiful little notebook. I don't know where my notebook is. I had it out here to show you, but I started about 15, 20 years ago. And I started to write down my compliments, not only from the audience, but people I worked with, teachers, coaches, conductors, people who saw my art, also my achievements, and the things I felt proud of. And in moments that you feel like you have a serious setback, it's very hard to remember your achievements and the compliments you got. So, but if you write them down, and the great thing is that book will get fuller and fuller. You will have more and more, when time passes. So when you read those accomplishments and achievements in the moment, you feel defeated, it's easier to snap back. Another important way to build snapback is list your past setbacks and how you have recovered then. Because again, setbacks happen through life. I mean, so I'm sure you can think of something what happened in the past and realize that you got through and find out how you got through. It might help you when you feel again defeated. Then ask yourself, what can I learn from my biggest mistake? Now, mistake you can explain in different ways. Like a mistake, like you sing something wrong, or it can also be a decision you made. Maybe you took on a role what was basically a little too much at this time in your life. So you learn from that because you realize that you have to be ready for what you take on. So what I see as my biggest mistake was finding myself terrified on the stage that many years ago, but because of that I learned all kind of ways to how to get through my performance anxiety, what was kind of in the background all the time. So it was a great lesson for me. And the result is that I now can help other people to get through these difficult times. Keep a positive and realistic outlook. Strive to find the positive within the negative. Believe in something greater than yourself. Accept what you cannot change and focus on what you can. And have a sense of purpose. And again, it's really wise to do a lot of journaling and to really create this as a second nature in your life, because you will need it through your career. Actually, another situation I'm thinking of, but I was so taken by, the name Christine Gurke. She's by now, I think, the most famous dramatic soprano in the world. She did many years ago a recital in Texas, and she sang, part of her program was sung by Poulenc. And in the middle of a song, she stopped. She forgot her words. And instead of freaking out, she walked to the piano, looked over the shoulder of the accompanist, and found her words, came back and said, you know what? Singing in French can be really tricky. And she picked up and went on. That's snapback. So snapback is a real important skill. So let's look at the next one you can develop. Focus. Now, focus is a big problem in our lifetime. As we all know, social media is, taking over people's lives. It's an incredible distraction. So I encourage you, when you, try to get something accomplished, close your phone, close the tabs of any, distractions, so you can focus. Start mindful breathing. That's a really interesting idea, what is pretty new, I mean, since the last 20, 30 years, and I will get more to that in the next module. So I'm just mentioning it here, but we'll get back to that. Then become aware of mind wandering. It turns out that 47% of the population mind wanders. And that means that your mind, the mind wanderer's mind, is not with the mind on what the owner of the mind is doing. And, we do that constantly. So two neuroscientists, Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert, they did a lot of study on mind wandering, and they found out that people who mind wander are actually less happy than people who are focused, which actually, you know, makes total sense, because mind wandering is kind of the opposite of being in the flow and being in the zone. What means, you know, you are fully immersed, you feel energized, joyful, and you know, in the process of your activity. So if you are a mind wanderer, you can actually become less wandering by reminding yourself. So you could set a little alarm every hour, and when it goes off, ask yourself, where was I with my mind? So, you know, slowly and over time, you will become better in focusing on your activity at hand. Remind yourself of your goals. Again, you know, this is like going out to the park. You know, when you start focusing on other things instead of, you know, your career and you want to move forward, you lose focus. And, you know, I'm not saying that you can never go to the park and have fun, because it's very important to relax and have a good time, but know when. And take breaks. Taking breaks is very important, because the mind gets tired like every other muscle in our body. So you need breaks. Then the last one of building your foundation is your attitude. Could you improve your attitude? I like this quote by Maya Angelou. If you don't like something, change it. And if you cannot change it, change your attitude. Because your attitude encompasses your way of thinking about anything in life, which creates feelings and subsequently reflects your behavior. A positive attitude makes your view of life broader and creates, therefore, more possibilities. So, you know, you can ask yourself, do you have a sense of humor? Are you forgiving towards yourself? Or do you beat yourself up, you know, after making mistakes? How kind are you towards other people? Do you feel self-conscious? Do you feel desirable, worthy, and attractive in your own unique way? So awareness is the first step to, you know, make changes, because if you don't know what your attitude is, then it's hard to change. Maybe you know about Kathleen Battle. She was a superb soprano, known for her pure tone, beautiful legato, fine musicianship, and good looks. But she got fired from the Met in 1994 because she was profoundly detrimental to the artistic collaboration among all the cast members. She was impossible to deal with. She was so entitled that people couldn't work with her. It affected the whole production. So just to remind you, you know, you can be the best singer, actor, player, dancer in the world, but if you have a lousy attitude, you're not going to get very far. So let's see how you can build these skills. You pick a situation where you can practice tough mind skills. And there are many situations you can do that. So say, you know, I really have trouble with focus. I lose my focus, you know, when I'm in a rehearsal, I forget to come in at the right time because, you know, I was thinking of something else. Whatever it is, every situation that you feel like, okay, after an audition, I got a thank you and they told me they were not interested. And it's, you know, I cried for 24 hours and actually felt like giving up singing. Any situation that you feel like you can build these mental tools to build mental toughness, you have to practice them. And over time, they become easier. Like every other muscle in your body, when you practice these skills, they become easier over time. Practice it over and over again. And as I said, it will get easier. Keep a journal. I think that's a real good way to write down your observations, because then you can also see your progress. And then you move on to the next skill. Sometimes I ask people to, write down a whole week. On Monday, you know your activities in the week. So what am I going to focus on this week? Think of the things you find challenging and why, and then you can practice these skills in these situations. So that was about building your foundation to success. So we're going on to the next tool, that is the O of B.O.U.N.C.E, observe your mind, identifying and restructuring your thought patterns. And I have to say, this is always my favorite subject, because I was an absolute star in negative self-talk, and I had no idea. So when I became aware of my negative self-talk, it changed my world. So let's get into that. Maybe you recognize some of this. I knew I would mess up. If only I had. How could this happen? How will I ever? If only I had. What if? All these thoughts that pop up in your head and scenes you have no control over. But the good news is you do. So the second step to success is becoming aware of your thoughts, because thoughts are not always accurate. Look at this little cartoon, which was in the New Yorker magazine a while ago. So this woman, I don't know if she's a singer or did a presentation, but she obviously has an enthusiastic crowd, but is applauding for her. But there's one man in the audience who we don't know what he is thinking. We only know that he is not clapping. And her thought bubble is, they hated me. So you see how incorrect her thought is, because everybody obviously liked her. And we don't know what this man is thinking. So important to realize is, and what many people get mixed up, is that you feel a certain way and that's why you think a certain way. It's actually the other way around. You have certain thoughts that makes you feel a certain way. So in any situation, we have thoughts. It's your interpretation of the thoughts that makes you feel. So here's a little circle, what shows how that works. So say the situation is you are at a performance or at an audition, and you see the jury or the audience, and your thought is, they will hate me. I won't hit the high note. I'll forget my words. So you're going to feel anxious, maybe get in a panic. You feel embarrassed. What am I doing here? Maybe you feel shame. Then your behavior, the result of your feelings is that you freeze, you maybe lose your focus, you make mistakes, it becomes, it spirals down. And your brain interprets it as, I cannot handle it, I'm not good enough, I quit. And you see that you can get yourself in this circle, but you can also break out of it, because the internal monologue we have going on in our heads is apt to tunnel vision. The product of our interpretation of a situation is often based on experiences in the past. Maybe your upbringing, maybe your culture, your religious background, and so forth, or maybe experiences you have had in the past, maybe as a child, and these experiences come back into your thoughts, but are not based on the reality of the situation. So therefore, it's so important to realize what you are thinking. So another interesting guy, David B.O.U.N.C.E, a psychologist, who came up with the red flags. He wrote a book, the Feel Good book, I think it's called. And So he came up with this idea that we all get stuck in thinking patterns, what he calls the red flags. They're also called nets, negative automatic thoughts. So like all or nothing thinking, let's see, all or nothing thinking is kind of like a situation when you feel like you didn't do a perfect job that you see as a total failure. There's nothing in between. Or you overgeneralize. You see a single negative event, such as a rejection at an audition, as a never-ending pattern of defeat. And you use words like always and never and words that you should avoid. We will find out soon. Mental filter. You pick out a single negative detail and dwell on it exclusively. Or you discount the positive. You reject positive experiences by insisting that they actually don't really count. Or you jump to conclusions. You interpret things negatively and you have no facts to support your conclusions. That also, it's called mind reading or fortune telling. Then we have magnification. You exaggerate the importance of your problems and shortcomings, or you minimize the importance of your desirable qualities. Then we have emotional reasoning. You assume that your negative emotions necessarily reflect the way things really are. I feel inferior, so I must be inferior. But realizing that that is a false statement is very important. Then we have labeling. Instead of saying, I made a mistake, you say to yourself, I'm such a loser, I'm a fool, I'm a failure. And if you are somebody who puts labels on yourself, you might also put labels on other people. So it's a good, strategy to stay away from. And then we have personalization and blame. That means that you think you are responsible for everything that goes wrong. Or you blame other people for your mistakes. Like, you don't come in at the right moment in a performance and you say, well, it was the conductor who didn't give me a clear cue. So these are the red flags and the thinking patterns that we want to stay away from. So here is an assignment, and I actually want to invite people who are attending to write down a situation in which you feel insecure or criticized. And I'm sure we can all find examples of that. Then write down your automatic thoughts. What are you thinking in that moment? Then ask yourself, what thought pattern did I get trapped in? Then write down a different response to the situation, and you will notice the change in your feelings. So I'm going to open up this frame, and I don't think I can write in it because I'm not that advanced on Zoom yet, but I'm going to see if I can get back to participants here, and if anybody likes to put a thought in the chat. Let me see if I can find the chat. Let me see, can I do that? Let me see if I can find the chat. Any help?
Wilma, it's in the
Yes.
center at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, hold on, I have to go
Out of
oh, chat, yes.
Yeah, you
All
see it?
right.
There
Yeah.
you are.
Okay. So let's see if anybody likes to share a negative automatic thought.
You can also unmute yourself if you have a question for Wilma or a comment for Wilma for the assignment.
Well, I guess they all have very positive, self-talking people here. What is very good. Okay, I'm always afraid I will disturb people. Okay, so what kind of automatic response is that? Let's go back to the page we had before and see where you can come up with. Let me see, I have to get the chat box out of the way, I guess. So what do you think? Is that all or nothing thinking, overgeneralization? I think maybe overgeneralization might also be mental filter, discounting the positive. You know, it is absolutely true that it's not like, you know, one thought has only one particular way of you know, labeling the thought. There are many different ways that you can define your own thinking. So jumping to conclusions, yes, that's definitely, yeah, absolutely. So it's very good to realize, you know, what kind of, because you probably do this in many situations, not only with this particular situation, but, you know, maybe in other situations as well. So this might be your weakness. Now, how, going forward again, what, you know, first of all, it would be nice to know what is your situation. So, you know, are you coming in to a party where you don't know anybody, or are you walking into the first rehearsal, orchestra rehearsal? So where does this situation take place? And then, so let's see, who, I think it was Axel who said, I always am afraid to disturb people. So would you be willing to share with us if that is in every kind of situation, or could you be clear about what kind of situation this happens?
It's not really in any kind of situation. I would say it started as a child that I didn't dare to take the telephone and to call people. And that's still an item. In my very old age, I have to convince myself and to write in my agenda on which day I'm going to call which people. Even if it's friends, for example. Even then, it's like there is this barrier. And then I always was afraid that I would, as I said, that I would disturb. I don't have it. I never had it, for example, when I was hired as a singer, because then there was a raison d'être. There was a good reason for me to be there, and I was able to take the play, or I am able to take my place. Also, if I'm invited for a masterclass, I walk in with my head upright. But I see, if I compare with my dear colleague Susanna Schimak, when we come in a place where we don't know anybody, she's going to be the girl who jumps on people. And I will stand there waiting until somebody comes to me, which will not happen.
Thank you for sharing that. I think I'm more like you, Axel.
Do you feel as lousy about it? Because it's a horrible feeling standing there.
Yes, but you know what I really liked what you said, and what is very important that you realize, it's something that stems from, you know, very early experiences you had. And you know, maybe, you know, the reason for that might never be known. But so in this situation, you're restructuring a positive, balanced self-talk could be, in the past, I felt this way, but I'm now open to making connections. That's kind of in the line. I mean, some thoughts are, you know, easier to restruct than others, but it basically, the point of this exercise is that you can talk to yourself in a positive way so you can move forward. And I always say to, you know, if you, for example, a simple example, like everybody hates me, don't change it into everybody loves me. Because it's as useless and as untrue. So it is way more important that you come up with a thought that helps you to move through that situation. So if you come in and you feel like you are, you know, not welcome, you can say to yourself, you know, I'm always a little, it takes me a moment to get into, you know, a new situation, or whatever it is that eases up your your thoughts and therefore your feelings, and you will move more at ease, and you will find out very quickly that people are very happy to see you.
Oh, I don't know, Wilma. Thank you for saying that.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to take one more example here of a chat. Afraid to
suddenly we
make,
have a lot, yes.
yes, afraid to make wrong first impressions. Now, this is really interesting. So we first have to define what is wrong. What is a wrong impression? So you see how thoughts, how they can, how tricky they are, and how they can trip us up. Because, you know, saying wrong is a very strong word. And I invite Christine to say, what do you mean with wrong?
So, and also the video.
Oh, there she is. Hi, Christine.
Sorry, not Dean, me.
Yes, I said Christine. You don't look like Dean.
He's here.
That's Dean.
So what's wrong?
Yeah, that's what I said, not bad, but wrong, because I don't make, and I have this whenever I come into a group work. So it's a production or it's like a big project with a lot of people where if it's a job, like I want to make an impression, and I realize that I'm always very careful, but in that way, I'm trying not to show myself. It's always in the end, people are realizing me as a different person. But it's not that I'm bad at the beginning. It's just a wrong impression of me.
Okay. All right. So you it's not wrong, but you give not a very accurate version of yourself. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and it's always that I think I'm just insecure of my opinions in the beginning, so I keep them to myself, and it takes me so much time, almost until the performance day, to actually show my real self.
Okay.
And it happens every time.
Okay.
So I thought it would be like one lesson, like, oh, you actually know what you're doing, Christine. You can be yourself from the first moment, but like every time it just takes me forever to get into it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So so do you think what thinking pattern would you say fits here with that thought? Making wrong impression. I mean, I would say that's definitely an all or nothing. I mean, like wrong or right. You know, when you use strong words like that, then there is no middle ground. Could be you know, an overgeneralization because you know, feel like it always happens that way. So you know, we can find different thinking patterns for that. And as I said to Axel, so the main thing is that you find a way to be more yourself earlier on in your encounters with, you know, your colleagues. And so what could you say to yourself? I'm asking you, you know, to be creative and see what you could do to feel earlier in time the way you are, and that you can share that with the people who are with you.
What I would say, like, be brave.
Be brave?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, be brave is good. How does it feel if you say, like, be brave? Does that help? It's still scary. Okay. All right. So we have to find something what is not scary, because you want to say something that helps you to actually ease up.
I'm thinking that's a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, some of these questions are, you know, tricky. And, you know, I applaud you for sharing this with us, because, you know, we, you know, usually don't like to share, you know, our negative thoughts. I mean, but I would definitely, you know, I think of the theory that of all the people you know, there's a third that loves you. There's a third, I think, that doesn't care about you, and there is a third that I'm not 100% sure if I say the right numbers, but where it comes down to is not all people love us. there are some people who don't like us, and that's the way the world is. And so accepting that, some people will think right away, wow, she is fun, and some people might not have a very strong opinion at first. So so that's one. I'm not sure we are still here because I lost Christine. Yeah, so there you are. Another way what you could say to yourself is, it's okay. It takes me a little more time than maybe other people to, feel comfortable. Because as soon as you accept, you're not resisting anymore. And resistance always makes things worse. So if you allow yourself to say like, okay, all right, this is a new situation. I want people badly to, like me and see how much fun I am in reality. But, it takes me a little time before I can allow people to see that. You free up a lot of tension and expectations and dilemmas where you find yourself in. So what if you said that to yourself? Okay, I will take my time. When I feel ready to open up, I will open up.
Yeah, I feel like that helps because one thing that I'm halfway already to like a progress is that I feel at least confident from the beginning. If I didn't have that, and now with experience, I think I have the confidence that I know that I have rights. But I know that, as you mentioned, I think that's the core of it, of that I want everyone to like me, and like it has to be, everyone had to be good to me, but it's not possible. Like there's always people that are gonna like me more than others. And
Yes.
that acceptance, I think that will take time for me to just calm down and
Yes.
be there. Yeah.
Yes. And as you said, or we concluded that, not everybody can, likes us, but focus on the people that do like you, and not on the people that you maybe think that they don't like you, because then, you kind of pull yourself in, while if you think like, well, there are people here I feel I have a connection with, they probably feel the same towards you. We pick up things by just being in the same room. It's not just by, talking to people. Somebody walks in and you think like, oh, that looks like an interesting person. Or you think like, that person looks like, has a very high opinion about himself or whatever. We think things, and again, they might be incorrect. But if you feel a connection with people, then I encourage you to go towards them and start a talk, and then you'll find out very quickly, and maybe feel at ease very quickly. So I'm going to actually, I'll take one more question because I really love looking at this. So Sophie says, when staying for a long time in sitting position and then having to sing, I start to have negative thoughts and I lose my motivation, energy. Not physically moving makes me have negative thoughts. Very interesting. All right, so I'm just curious if you have, hi Sophie.
Hello.
Hi, if you have had any experiences that, that long sitting really did have a negative effect at the moment that you got up, or is this just a fear?
No, it's actually something real that I am really aware of, and I've been trying to improve, but that I have that a lot, like in classical, for example. It's super difficult for me to be in a sitting position for a long time and to stay positive. I'm a very positive person, but I need to move a lot, and when I don't move, it's very difficult.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So may I ask you what exactly these thoughts are, the negative thoughts? So what exactly comes up in your mind then?
Like, first I think because I feel the body is getting like stiff and like cold. So then I'm like, oh, I'm going to do something bad because I'm not ready for it. I'm not like.
All right. So that's fearful thinking. You think like, okay, I sat for so long and I probably cannot support my voice, or, my voice is shut down because, I didn't sing for a while. So, all right. So what do you think is that? All or nothing thinking. I mean, the first note might not be the best note, but, when you sing the first note, maybe the rest is rolling out.
Maybe, maybe it's like a fear of like not having the control, because when I can prepare and then directly I sing, I have the control because I just sang. And when I have to wait for like 2 hours, I'm like, oh my God. So it's scary.
I mean, that's a real fear for us singers, because yes, when you sit still for, in a concert version, and you don't sing for a while, and then you have to open your mouth, you don't know what's coming out. Yes.
Yeah, so bad.
So, it is scary, but, I don't know you as a singer, but you can, probably say to yourself, well, my technique is solid enough to pick up quickly and get on track. So really focus on the things you are capable of. Really focus on that, you are an experienced singer, and you master your technique, and that you can trust it. So your positive balanced talk might be, I can trust my technique.
Okay. Yeah.
I have studied voice for, whatever amount of years. All positive statements that will help you because it's not that you have sat for so long, it's now the fear that makes your sound not coming out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you physically move, it's like your thoughts go out. And when you don't move, they stay inside, and I cannot find a way to put them out.
Right. Now, there is a way, and it's hard when you sit still, but you could really concentrate on mindful breathing, because then you have your mind set on a movement, even while it's small, but it's in the body, and it will help you to calm, what we will get to in a minute, to calm your nervous system. And because at this point, it sounds to me more that it's not your ability to, sing the first note, the way you want it, but it's more the fear of it. And the fear is, closing your throat, and, you're not supporting correctly, etc. So thank you for sharing that, because that's, a very valid fear that we singers have. I mean, absolutely. So I would love to take more, but let's move on to our next step.
Thank you.
Sure. So more ways to conquer debilitating thinking. So celebrate your achievements. So again, here's your notebook of accomplishments and compliments and achievements. Be aware of the things you have accomplished so far. Another method is detachments, and this comes really from the meditation practice, that we don't have to give our thoughts, we don't have to judge them, we don't have to give them value. So if you think like, I'm afraid that I won't sing the first notes well because I sat for so long, you don't have to give it meaning. You say like, okay, that's a thought. I let that thought go, because it doesn't do anything for you. Thoughts come and go. It's not something that is solid in our mind. So you can detach and let them pass. Again, start a notebook for compliments, positive feedback, and reviews. And the more experienced you are, the more you will get in your book. Focus on your senses. And this is a wonderful one, actually, to go back to what we just talked about. When you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or incompetent, you can do the focus on your senses. And it's really easy. You can do it anywhere, anytime, and it takes only a few minutes. So let's do them for a minute. Look around and see 5 things. So I'm seeing my tea, I see my computer, I see a pen, I see my Buddha statue, and I see another pair of glasses. So I notice these things. then I am going to pay attention to 4 things I can hear. And depending where you are, but give it a moment. So you have to bring your focus outside and to your hearing. And I can hear my fan spinning. I hear traffic in the street. I hear my vaporizing, making sounds. And I don't hear anything else at the moment, but so really bring your attention to the things you hear. Then you think of 3 things you can feel. Become aware of what you feel. You can feel your weight in the chair. You can feel your clothing on your skin. You can feel your, earphones in your ears. 3 things you can feel. And then 2 things you can smell. That's sometimes a little tricky, but you can find them very close at home. You might smell your detergent in your shirt. I'm lucky, I have a beautiful bouquet of lilies here that has a beautiful smell. So become aware of all your senses. And then the last one is breathe in mindfully. And while you breathe in, think one good thing about yourself, whatever that is. It can even be like, I am focused in the moment, or I am kind. Whatever it is, something positive you breathed in. And so this grounding allows your brain to get out of the automatic thoughts that kind of closes you down, and it deactivates the part in the brain that causes negativity. So that's a really great way to, and I think you can apply that when sitting still before it's your turn to sing. Might help. So I love you to try that out. Then meditation, that's has become more and more a thing in our society, and meditation has a lot of wonderful benefits. And again, I will get to that in a minute in the next module. And exploring your triggers. So if you know what triggers you, and very specifically, then you can work on that, because a whole situation might be too overwhelming and you cannot get clarity. You have to find clarity in a trigger, and then you can work directly on making it easier for yourself. So we're going to a short session now about using your strings, the U of bounce. And this is another really interesting development since the 90s. Knowing and utilizing your strengths is another way to gain confidence and proceed with your goals. And a strength is really a pre-existing capacity for a particular way of behaving, thinking, or feeling that is authentic and energizing to the user and enables optimal functioning, development, and performance. This is actually a quote from Professor Alex Lindley, who is the founder of the Center for Applied Positive Psychology. Then Don Clifton, he was the developer of the Clifton Strings, chairman of the Gallup's online psychological assessment, what you actually can do. So what knowing your strengths does for you. Being aware of your strengths encourages you in your undertakings. It creates a sense of direction. It makes you more at ease with yourself. It gives you flow, and it helps you achieve your goals. And as Don Clifton said, there's no more effective way to empower people than to see each person in terms of his, her, their strengths. So that's why I encourage you to find out what your strengths are. And to make it a little easier for you, Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, he was the founder of the Positive Psychology Center at the University of Pennsylvania, and he came up with the inventory of strengths, and he divided them in wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, temperance, and transcendence. And there is a subdivision in what they could be or they are. Being aware of your strengths is going to help you in any situation that you find yourself in. Actually, Martin Seligman is a really interesting psychologist, yes, sounds so weird, a psychologue. And this concept was really groundbreaking in the early 90s because psychology was, traditional psychology's approach is focusing on weaknesses of people to make life less miserable. While he came up with the idea, let's focus on the things that are going really well in your life, let's focus on your strengths and build from there. So knowing your strengths will help you to build confidence and feel more at ease and trustworthy in your undertakings. So that is my assignment for you, what you can take home, because this might take a little time to list your 10 signature strengths, decide how they can help you in your daily life, find ways through the day to remind yourself to use these strengths, and then visualize yourself using these strengths in upcoming situations. So I like to go back to Axel about feeling that you are disturbing people. So you could visualize, using your strengths in these situations, and you might feel more at ease and more authentic in these situations. So if you want to find out what your strengths are, I encourage you to go to the website viacharacter.org. As I said, gallup.com does it too, but I think they are a little more geared towards professional skills in the corporate world, while the VIA character is really about your personal strengths. And at the end, you have to fill out a lot of questions. It's free. And at the end, they tell you what your 3 top strengths are, your 10, main strengths, and etc. So look it up and find out what your strengths are. So the science of positive psychology demonstrates that we feel more confident when we are aware of our strengths' broad assortment. It keeps us in balance and makes us heal more quickly after setbacks. And another thing, what it does, if we know our strengths, it makes it way easier to work on our weaknesses. If we have no idea what our strengths are, then we only focus on the weaknesses, and we might easily get discouraged to work on them. But if you can put them next to your strengths, you feel like, okay, I'm going to tackle the weakness I want to improve. So a way to make it for yourself easier, again, as I said, I'm a strong believer in writing and journaling. So for example, if you have issues with self-control, you could this is just an example. I kept my cool when a friend of mine got really upset with me. So in other words, you didn't lose your self-control. Or looking at an upcoming situation, I'll take a deep breath and exhale on the count of 10. So, I mean, these are, you probably have heard that before, but writing these things down for yourself will help you to really practice these skills and to use your strengths at the moments that, they are in your advantage. So writing down the ones you feel are your strengths, and then find situations that you can use them. And it will help you to, be more at ease with them and to build your confidence. So here we are at the last 3, the N of B.O.U.N.C E, the last 3 modules of the presentation of the B.O.U.N.C E tools. The N of B.O.U.N.C E, how happiness is the catalyst for success. And again, Martin Seligman is a big founder of this idea, but many psychologists have done an abundance of research on what happiness does for us. Sonja Lyubomirsky, Barbara Fredrickson, Sean Aker, these are just a couple of people who have done extensive research in laboratory to find out what actually the sense of happiness does for people. And I'll show you what they found. So happiness actually has an abundance of advantages. It makes us friendlier, more energetic, charitable, cooperative, better liked, flexible, creative in our thinking. It makes us more productive, resilient, opens our hearts. It increases our visual perspective, and it actually improves our physical health. It strengthens our immune system. And when we feel happy, people tend to feel less inhibited and more likely to explore new possibilities and take risks. So happiness makes us even live longer and makes it much easier to maintain a satisfying relationships. So very good reasons to really look into how happy you are. And actually, since 2008, we can actually measure happiness by viewing the endorphins release in the body, which is a natural form of morphine with a specific scan, the PEP scan. This is actually not a PEP scan of performance empowering, but coincidentally, it's also called a PEP scan. So what steps can we make to feel happier? So here are a couple of suggestions that are, again, based on science. I have not, I want to make clear, I have not come up with all this knowledge. It's, something that I have discovered and applied to myself and to, many other students who, have experienced the same experiences as I did. So the first one is a great one, the 3-to-1 ratio. So if you have experienced a negative experience in the day, like, okay, you went to an audition and it was really not your best version of, of yourself, your best presentation. So it's very easy to, get all down about it and discouraged and feel sad and regret. And so we all have, disappointing experiences, so we cannot avoid that. That's what life is. But if you realize you had one negative experience, come up with 3 positive experiences in that day as well. Or maybe even in the situation, maybe you talked to somebody who, you knew from years ago, or you made a connection of somebody who you were able to give your business card to, or whatever. Try to find 3 positive things that you can put opposite the negative experience. Reframing, we have done that, and you realize when you reframe your negative thoughts, how that makes us feel better and more content. Gratitude, it builds grit, but it also makes us feel happier. If you realize of all the things you have in your life, the fact that we live, in a peaceful, in a land, in a country that, is in peace, that you are healthy, that you have friends, that you have the opportunity to, sing and study at one of the best conservatories, whatever it is, be aware and really be grateful for that. Be kind to others, be kind to yourself, and it's contagious. When you are kind to other people, it's not always the case, but don't get discouraged. Being kind will make you feel happier. Do your best. And again, I'm going to say, don't try to be perfect. Doing your best is all that you can do. And honestly, doing your best is every day different, really depending on the situation. But as long as you feel you do your best, then that's all, you can. Cultivating Hope. forgive, because if you don't forgive, you walk around with, pain and resentment. So if you forgive, you feel an amount of freedom. That doesn't mean that you have to accept things that are not acceptable, but this is something is something to be aware of. Meditate, mindfulness, and again, this comes back in many modules, and we will get into that in a minute. And self-compassion. Be kind to yourself, be understanding to yourself, calm your own fears and acknowledge them. Don't try to push them away, because they will still be there. So be self-compassionate. And these are really easy ways to find more happiness in your life. So here we are with the following assignment. So how happy are you on a scale from 1 to 10? Say you are an 8. Then you're a pretty happy person. But even if it's a 5. So how could you increase your sense of happiness? And again, you can go back to these specific steps you can make to feel happier. How will it affect your health and relationships? I mean, it's very well known, if you are a happy person, you have an easier time in keeping healthy relationships, and then when you're always down and negative. So happiness is going to affect your health and relationships. How will it affect your study and work? And how will it affect your future? So questions to think about and to become aware of. Again, awareness is the first step to change. So when you can build awareness about these things, about your negative thoughts, about your strengths, about your sense of happiness, then you have something to work with. And it will be incredible supportive in your career plans and in your goals. So I encourage you to take time and to really sit down and find out where you are on this scale and what the changes might, how that could affect your life. Now you might wonder, what has this all to do with stage fright? Well, actually quite a lot, because if you can build all these skills, then by the time you have a performance, you already have created a balanced mind and body. You know your strengths, you are able to restructure any negative thoughts. So you can imagine, if you are, usually at this stress level, you will now be at this stress level on a, regular basis. So when you go into an audition or a performance, of course the stress level goes up. That should happen, because that's energy, and we want to use that in a positive way. So these things help you to be better performers as well. So here we arrive at the 5th tool: calm your nervous system. And so this is the time that we are on the stage. But as I said, you can get, anxious already about thinking. I remember that performance that I did, and where I actually crashed, as I told you in my introduction. The week before, I was so anxious. I didn't sleep. I was like, it was actually a job. It was a brand new job I got in one of the prestigious churches here in New York. And although I was older, obviously, than most singers with my experience, I was hired on the spot when I sang "O Thou That Tellest Good Tidings," and the conductor said, "I'd like you to present that on Sunday as a solo." And I was like, my God, this is like, this man has made a mistake. And so the whole week I have been building up this anxiety that that probably people would hate me and it was a mistake and I couldn't do it. And so by the time I arrived at the church on that Sunday morning, my stress level was up already here, because I had worked myself up so much. And that extra stress, was on top, because of my live performance, in a packed church, was just too much. I couldn't handle it. So, to a mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. And that's wisdom from the 6th century. So break a leg. Why do we say break a leg? Isn't that an interesting wish for somebody who goes on the stage? But it's, a very common encouragement for people who are going to perform. And actually, I looked it up, and it seems to be based on that we feel like we are out of control. At the moment we perform, we have to give our control away. We have prepared, on every possible level. And then in a moment, we just, have to focus and be in the flow. So according to a British medical study, active stress levels on opening night are equivalent to that of a car accident victim. Ooh, whoa, that's a lot of stress. Yes, so you understand how important it is that before you get on the stage, that you have your, nervous system under control. Because to strive to succeed comes undoubtedly with stress. So the key is how to manage this productively. Many famous and successful performers have suffered from performance anxiety, as we saw Renee Fleming, Pavarotti, Lady Gaga, Barbara Streisand, Lily Pons, Glenn Gould, Donny Osmond, Adele, Carly Simon, Delora Zadjek, Nicole Kidman, Hugh Grant, Laurence Oliver. Many people have suffered from performance anxiety and still were able to build a successful career. So that's another thing to keep in mind, that you are not alone on this. So let's look at what really happens when we experience performance anxiety. And you see this poor little guy with his trembling legs. The physical symptoms of rapid heart rate, shortness of breath, cold sweat, trembling, tension, nausea, dry mouth, dizziness. Then the cognitive process of negative thoughts, worries, lack of concentration, to an overactive imagination, feelings of disapproval, inadequacy, fear, shame, life or death even. And the behavioral results are that you shut down and you start to make mistakes. You dissociate, unable to take compliments when you get them, giving up, postponing other performance opportunities or auditions. So we definitely have to find a way to manage this amount of stress. So far, you have learned that the various tools that you can develop, skills that help you build a mindset that supports you in reaching your goals and being at your best in performances. Applying those tools to your daily routine gives you the ability to increase your focus, to be more courageous, and to snap back faster after defeat. So again, that's underlying that practicing these skills on a regular basis is really important. You also practice, your technique on a regular basis, because otherwise it's going to deteriorate. Restructuring your thought process, being aware of your strengths, and cultivating a sense of happiness increases our confidence and chances to succeed in career goals and before and in the moment of performance. So these skills calm your nervous system. So you need that in the moment of performance. So now let's see and look at other ways how we can calm the mind and the nervous system. So as you can see, this one little guy is running, chased by a snake, getting in the fight or flight response. The other guy is laying on his back, napping. So you don't want either situation when you are performing. You want to have a balance. And we can actually create that balance in our body and mind with the practice of visualization, meditation, mindfulness, and focus of attention. Because when we get anxious and find ourselves in stage fright, we cannot run like this guy does, run away from a snake. We are on a stage. So the only option we have, we freeze. And when we freeze, we can jeopardize a well-prepared performance. And our reliable technique and preparation goes out of the window. So again, that shows you how important it is that you need the bounce tools to when you are a fantastic performer, to keep building on your career and to sustain it. So let's look at the practices you can do. Breathing exercises. As I mentioned before, breathing has become, the awareness of breathing has become very popular. An interesting book about breath is the new science of a lost art. Because people have become actually bad breathers through evolution. First, because our skull has changed, but also because we are so occupied with so many things that we actually don't really find full breath. So the new science of a lost art, breathing, breathing exercises will help you to calm the nervous system. You can imagine if you concentrate on your breath, you cannot concentrate on your negative thoughts. Your brain actually can only do one thing. That's concentrate on or breathing or negative thinking. So you can breathe in positive thoughts, so you could combine that. Mindfulness, that's another very new science, really, that we know of since the 90s. Mindfulness is, it calms the body and the mind through observation, through paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and bodily sensations. And a guy who has become a master in this is Jon Kabat-Zinn. He actually has developed the mindfulness-based stress reduction program, MBSR, what he actually uses for pain management. It reduces depression, and it also boosts the immune system and lowers the response of fear. So mindfulness is a really fantastic way to find calmness in our body and mind. And again, you don't have to put a lot of time to the side to practice this. You can do this in your daily activities. Like you can walk mindfully. Like if you think like, okay, I'm walking, I put my left foot down, I put my right foot down, which part of the foot do I feel go up, what part of the foot goes down first, to have a complete understanding, like knowing exactly what the movements are of your walking. And you can do that with everything, even breathing, feeling the air going through your nostrils, going through your throat, filling up your lungs. So mindfulness really calms down the nervous system. And this is science from neuroplasticity, neuroscience, immunology. So many different sciences have supported that mindfulness is very helpful. Now, meditation, again, nowadays you can find all kind of meditation apps, and on YouTube you can find meditation channels. And a first person who actually really accepted meditation in our Western world was a physician, Herbert Benson, that was actually in the 70s, and he bridged the gap between Western medical practices and the Eastern spiritual discipline to diminish the adverse effects of stress. And as I said, it was in the 70s, and that was really quite a new thing. You know, for many years we thought when we were going to meditate, you had to sit still in lotus position and you know, or go travel to India. You know what? You can meditate right here in your chair. So that makes it much more accessible, and therefore also you can practice it more often. So 4 is shift from left brain to right brain, especially when we work on, you know, the things we want to improve. We get very much in our left brain, what is our analytical brain. And we performers are actually more right dominant. We are, you know, sensitive, we are creative, we are musical, and that gets a little, you know, overpowered by the left brain's analytic part. So, and a good way to shift from left to right is doing improvisation. And this is always one of the my favorite parts in my workshops. Getting people up and doing improv, you know, starting to sing a little scene, and you are surprised what a wonderful little pieces of music are created in a moment. Also use mood cards. And you can make them yourself, you know, write, say, you know, 10 different cards, and you write on each one a different mood, like silly, depressed, happy, angry. And so when you sing through your aria, you just change the card. And whatever it is, it doesn't need to make sense at all with the music. It's really an exercise to free yourself up and to activate your right brain and to get in touch again with your creativity. And without any exception, everybody loves that part of the workshop, because you know, your voice opens up, your body opens up, and all that stiffness and inhibition what you so often feel in your performance is gone. So when you do that more often, your body gets used to that, and you can use it in your, you know, your performances. Then another interesting research they did was that when you spend time in nature, it calms down your nervous system. So if you have a big performance coming up, you know, see if you can take a walk in a forest, or go to the beach, or not in the summer, obviously. Find quiet time, and really the awe of, you know, nature seems to open up people's, you know, a part that makes you calmer, and therefore more in control of situations you know, have to master. And then visualization, and I think this is a very important step, because you know, you cannot practice every day a whole, you know, recital program, or you know, an opera role, because the voice will get tired. And or if you are, you know, a pianist, you know, you can only play so many hours, and then you need rest. The good thing of visualization is that you don't have to do anything, but just visualize yourself going through the performance. And that means from beginning to end. And you have to be aware of what you are wearing, how you walk in, how you're going to greet people, and see every moment of your performance. And actually that, again, you know, that makes neuron connections in your head, and really adds to a real performance. Because the great part of visualization is that you can make it as good as you can visualize. So, and that really translates into reality. So please use some visualization when you get ready for a performance. And then I love this one, laugh. Laughing opens up our soul, and it releases tension. It makes us free. So if you can read a funny story before you go on, or have somebody tell you some jokes, please do. It will, help you to activate the vagus nerve and lower your cortisol and adrenaline levels. And that diffuses a stress loop between our brains and bodies. So now this is very simple preparation and practice tips for you, but I'm sometimes surprised that people are not always doing this to lower their own stress levels. According to Malcolm Gladwell, he wrote a couple of interesting books, and in his book Outliers, he said the single most determined factor to success is the amount of practice and preparation. Not just, being knowing your repertoire, but find out what the requirements are for an audition. You will be surprised that people sometimes show up with, the wrong repertoire because they did not read the instructions. Check your music. Make sure, it's in the right order in your binder, that there are no pages missing or upside down. I've seen many things. Check the location, know where you have to be. Make sure, how much time and travel you need to get there. Make sure you're early to find a moment to center before you go on. Decide at least 24 hours before your audition or performance what you want to wear and stick to it. Don't change it the next day and say like, oh no, I'm going to wear something else. No, because it adds a lot of stress to already a stressful day. So try to keep everything what is stressful out. Read your positive affirmations, go through your compliments, your list of gratitude, really, fill up your brain with, healthy stuff. Like, when you eat healthy, you also have to put healthy foods in your conscious mind. Do a minimum of 5-minute conscious breathing exercises twice a day. I mean, it has become my, such a natural thing for me. Every morning I do that, and I feel that it helps me to get through the day. It's only 5 minutes, but it sets you up correctly. Take 5 minutes every day leading up to your day of your audition performance, and visualize yourself doing well. So you don't have to do the whole performance, but take some time and really see yourself doing, giving your very best. Don't party the night before. Drink lots of fluids and move. When we move, there are actually certain hormones coming free in our body that helps us to de-stress. And validate your feelings. Don't say like, oh my God, I'm getting stressful. I'm not allowed to get anxious. Okay, I feel some anxiety coming up. Okay, but I know how to control it, because I can take deep breaths. I have all my positive affirmations. I know what is expected from me. I'm prepared, etc. Strive for doing your best and not for being perfect, and stick to your plan. Just very practical pieces of advice. Because being physically and mentally ready contributes to being genuine, relaxed, focused, and fully engaged in a performance. All right, here we get to the excel in the spotlight, the E of bounce. Find flow and deliver peak performance. Now, maybe you understand that if you have not done any of the work we have done so far, it's very hard to have peak performance. So it's really important to do the preparation before you can, find to excel in the spotlight. And I love this quote by Stephen Pressfield, who's an author actually. The amateur believes he must first overcome his fear. Then he can do his work. The professional knows that fear can never be overcome. He knows there is no such thing as a fearless warrior or a dread-free artist. So embrace that and use your energy in your performance. Because what is peak performance? It is actually a certain amount of stress. As you can see here, when your stress level increases, you will get into a zone, what is actually your peak energy level. When we go over, we will get into anxiety. So it is our purpose to gear our energy into that particular graph so we can give our best. And so how do you do that? There is an expert on flow. I have practiced this name many times, but I think I'm still not pronouncing it correctly, but I'm going to try. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And this man has done research for many years on flow and peak performance. And for many different professions. And so his idea about peak is complete concentration on the task, clarity of goals and reward in mind, transformation of time. The experience is intrinsically rewarding, effortlessness and ease. There's a balance between challenge and skills, and actions and awareness are merged, losing self-conscious rumination and feeling of control over the task. And if you have all that, you are ready to give your peak performance. So how can you create this? Well, by all the tools you have learned so far. So pre-performance routines, mental readiness, daily visualization, focus, be prepared for distractions, coping skills for mistakes, confidence in your own abilities, keep a positive attitude and use positive self-talk, remind yourself of your goal and motivation, balance your nervous system with breathing, meditation, and mindfulness exercises, and you will find your flow. So what you can do to make sure you have a checklist that you can check off on a daily basis before you have a big audition or a big performance. Remind yourself of, know your repertoire, check the time, realize that this is the life you dream of. Because funny enough, when we get towards this, stressful moment of, showing what we have to offer, we get anxious and we think like, oh, I wish it was over already, because, we are so geared up about it. So remind yourself, this is the life you dream of. So you are right, you're living right what you want. Feel fulfilled about your journey so far. Know it's a process and never a final product. Never. It's a process. Become aware of what you have learned and what you didn't know before. That's, a way better way to look at things than, asking yourself what you don't know yet or what you cannot do yet. And tap into your excitement of sharing your growth with your audience. And then, whatever you need, what you feel, and this is, all very personal. What works for you might not work as well for someone else. And that's why there are so many different tools you can use, like mindful breathing, meditation, positive affirmations, visualization, physical exercise, and try out these things. And so by the time when you have a big performance, then you know exactly what you should do to get ready to give your very best and to actually deliver a peak performance. And this way you can keep track of the things you have to do to make sure you are on track, not only with your artistic abilities, but also with your mental preparedness. And so it will set you up to walk into that performance with a certain amount of excitement, what might feel, or what you might interpret as anxiety, but it's actually energy, what you need to give your peak performance. So here are my final words. Becoming successful with our craft requires more than mastering the craft itself. We can only reach our potential if our minds believe in our competence and operate in a particular way, a supportive way. Getting to the top demands hard work to develop any expertise, but our mindset is a determining factor in leading us to failure or success. So I hope you will continue to work with the B.O.U.N.C.E tools, incorporate them in your life, and employ them to your potential and advancing you to go on in rewarding experiences. So if you'd like to find out more about the B.O.U.N.C.E tools and about performance empowering, you can visit performanceempowering.com. You can follow Performance Empowering on Facebook and Instagram, and please like it so we can reach more people for empowerment. And if you have questions, please send an email to info@performanceempowering.com. I didn't mention here that I also have a YouTube channel where are several 5-minute meditation exercises, especially for performers. The only 5 minutes, one is concentrating on breathing, one is about confidence, one is about peak performance. So these are great to listen to before you have to go on. And that was sharing my B.O.U.N.C.E tools with you. And I'm now opening up to Susanne and Axel and see if there are any questions that I would love to answer. I feel like I overloaded you with so much that I hope it was not too much.
Well, thank you so much, first of all. Thank you so much, Wilma, for talking during 1 hour 59 minutes without one stop, without one so I think your B.O.U.N.C.E tools also help you very, very, very much to concentrate over such a long time. It was a humongous amount of information, a humongous amount. Thank you for being so generous. Perhaps for the people who listen to us, we should mention that on the YouTube channel of the MUSICTALKS, we will post the recording. So it is possible to go back and to listen and to stop and to take note. I try to take notes for myself. And there is one quote I would like to, which I immediately wrote down because it's so true for all kinds of things. You said, Wilma, awareness is the first step to change. And I think that you couldn't find any better words, and that it's, applicable. Is that a word in English?
Applicable, huh?
Applicable, thank you. Applicable to every part of our life, to the career, to the life, and to everything. So the only thing I would say to you is thank you so much. I can't say it in enough words.
Thank you.
Guys, let's see your faces and give Wilma hands up. This is the way we applaud in the meetings.
Oh, there's Yunki.
Let's see you. All you guys who are there. I see Yunki, I see Nancy. This is wonderful. This is fantastic. Wilma, I would just like to sum up not the tools you've given up, but what you, Wilma Weaver, have given us. You have given us so much inspiration, so much affirmation, so much hope and positivity, so much tools to get into the set of being mindful. And one of the big things I wrote down, so just if you thought I was doing something else, as I was, you are not alone. The struggle is real for all of us. You are not alone. How many singers do you know who have been told you're too old, you're too short, you're too fat, you're too large, you're too long, you're too this, you're too that, your nose, it's not the way. How many people? I mean, we all know them. We all are them, right? awareness is the first move towards change. So if you guys walk out of this wonderful meeting with Wilma today thinking, okay, wait a second, there are things I can do. I'm not a failure because I have these thoughts and I have these feelings, because everybody has them, right? This is a big step in life and in your life as a performer. So you might hear it. I'm quite sort of shaken and touched by all the things I've heard. Leave us comments on Facebook. Leave us comments on Instagram.
Do, please. Yes.
If you need Wilma's contact details, you will find them on her website, www.performanceempoweringinoneword.com. We will be happy also to supply you with any information you need. We are working on getting Wilma over here to work live with you guys, with me, with you. Yeah. So please.
You're a desperate case, Suzanne. Because you are not laughing. Wilma said one of the most important things is laughing, and you are so serious. So
it's one of the biggest problems, I have no sense of humor.
Did you say no sex appeal?
That as well. That's the second biggest problem. Stop ruining my mushy moment. So we cannot thank you enough. You guys, make sure that you mention Wilma's name, that you mention the messages she has given us today, so that we can get her over here for a European performance empowering tour. Okay? Yes? Any questions, any comments you would like to give before we all go and have a huge drink? Or
yes, Itzel has a question.
I just have a comment. Firstly, thank you very much. And there's one quote.
Itzel, we lost you.
Want to put it in the chat?
I'm
now?
asking her. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Where is she? Itzel, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you put your question in the chat, because we couldn't hear you. You were disappearing. Now she's writing, so we can check whether she can write.
Okay.
It's a long question, Wilma.
I really liked the quote, "Every day is a different day."
And best, sorry, attends. Ça part en quoi, yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, okay. And I also wanted to say that as beautiful it is to have this journey of learning how your voice works, knowing the mistakes you've been doing before, and having the slow process to know how to use it better, and found your strengths and your lower how do we say it? Well, the lower things you have, the weaknesses. Yes, I think it's also beautiful to get to know yourself, how your mind works, and it's also a slow process to recognize and become aware of all those things. So I think it's a very beautiful parallel we have with the voice and the mind, and it's both a very beautiful discovery, I think, that we can all.
Yeah. And I see that Vasiliki would like to pop a question in as well.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. I just wanted to ask about doing your best. Is something that it's an expression that I hear a lot, and always people say, like, do your best, don't, instead of being perfect, as you said. But for me, I don't quite get that, because also my what is the best? What is the best you can do? For me, this expression puts a lot of pressure on me. So I wanted to see your view on it.
Okay. I am very happy to answer that question. So this is also about awareness. Your best is, the best version of yourself, and that can be in your daily life, in your relationships, can be your attitudes towards your work, and to performing. Finding, I don't know if you are familiar with the 4 agreements. It's a fantastic book based on the Celtic knowledge and a culture, and one of them is indeed doing your best. So you could get into, say you get into a conflict with somebody, but you have tried to stay calm, to not say mean things. You have tried to understand this other person's point of view. These are all elements of doing your best. You do your best to get through this given situation. If you are a performer and you are, doing an audition, and you feel like it was not your best, whatever, maybe you sung better before than at this particular day, you can ask yourself, why was it not as good? Maybe you didn't sleep the whole night because the neighbors were, making noise, or maybe you don't feel very well today. So there are many reasons why you can give your best, or why you are, maybe your best is today not as good as yesterday. So instead of seeing it as pressure, it's like accepting who you are in this moment. And today, at this moment, you are probably a little different than tomorrow or than yesterday, because we are constantly changing. Our cells are constantly renewing, so we change constantly. And accepting that that's the case, and making the mindful decision to give the best that you have to offer, no matter what the situation, or what the requests are, is to make you feel at ease, and accepting that that's what it is for today. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you very much. I think it's a work in progress anyway. It's not so easy to capture.
Oh no, absolutely. And unfortunately, that with all the tools, it's not something what you can do in 5 minutes, and then you're set and you can move on. And that's often what people find difficult to follow through and to make this part of their lives. But it improves your life on every level, not just as a performer, but in your relationships, in your feelings of contentment, everything. So but again, it does take effort, and it might be sometimes painful to sit down and to really look at yourself, and realize where you are, and how you want to move forward. It costs energy, and as we are set to our subconscious mind is doesn't want that. So we really have to put effort in finding more awareness in our own self, to make these improvements. And that's absolutely right. It's an ongoing process, and it's never ending, unfortunately. It's never that you say at a day, okay, now I am done. No. But you also never done as a performer. You change, and things. You become wiser and older, and more experienced, and so this is all part of being living human beings.
And I think, Wilma, after everything you learned us today, it's also clear that in answer to Vasiliki, that doing your best in this little group we're in now of singers doing your best on a performance, on an exam, on an audition, can't be taken just as do your best as in your singing. The doing your best is in the whole preparation, in the, as you said, Wilma, in the stupid thing of choose your dress 24 hours before, choose your tie 24 hours before bus. That, you know, all those little things are also part of doing your best, because that will construct the whole element and take away already part of the stress.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because the strange thing with stress and fright is, and fear, is that it might some days be easier to go on the stage in the National Opera House and you don't feel anything, and 2 days later you are in the smallest town where you will sing for 50 people and you're struck by fear for some ununderstandable reason. So
Absolutely. And that's why, because sometimes we get overwhelmed by these negative feelings. And if we don't know how to use that amount of stress to our advantage and give our best performance, we will, you know, feel inhibited and, you know, lose track of you know, forget our words and go downhill. So absolutely, yes.
The big part of the process is, I mean, and this is why, one of the reasons why what you have told us is so valuable. A big part of the process is understanding that the process never ends, and it's about embracing the idea that it's a journey. You don't arrive. You might not arrive, you know, we're expecting that we're human. We think that when we set out to go someplace, we will eventually get there, but we don't know where we're going to go.
Right.
We're going to recognize when we're there. So, you know, happiness is not a station, it's a way of traveling, or it's a, right? So instead of, and I mean, yeah, it's really very valid, not only for singing or singers or performers or artists. It's very philosophical. It's a life lesson, isn't it? So.
and then eventually, one day, the singing will become something like freeing yourself.
Right, exactly. Because, you know, that's all what we, you know, strive for, to, you know, the all the hours we spend in the studio to, you know, improve our, you know, technique and become the excellent singers we want to be, and to be, you know, a messenger of, you know, beautiful music and inspire other people. We need this work on the side to help us indeed to free up and to really give. Because if you sing, you know, the perfect notes and, you know, you don't make any mistakes, but there is no life to it because you are so tight and so, you know, afraid, then it's not going to be a very exciting performance.
Remember the graph that Vilma showed us about the flow, about peak performance? You know, it's a very thin line, or it might feel like a very thin line between being like on top of things and feeling I can do this, and anxiety. So we are like dancing on the what is it called, on the limb.
The edge. We are
Right.
dancing on the edge.
We're dancing. It's a very thin line. It's not like, and I say that to my students many times, you know, we all want to be free. Too much freedom sometimes feel like a complete lack of orientation. Even pressure can feel like orientation. So remember, there is a polarity in everything. And all we do, or we try to do in life, on stage, in relationships, is to just kind of, you know, doing this. And sometimes we have to do that. But remember, you're going to go back to this, hopefully. Right?
Yes.
I'm not too
Yes.
I'm quite having fun, but you know.
Yes.
Anyway. So, look, again, thank you so very much. We will be in touch. I think we should have a pre-production, a post-production meeting. A nice spirit joining us, you know. I'll
But
send
yes, very nice.
I will send an invite.
Okay.
For you out there, please take out your agendas and note April 8th, the next Music Talks, this time with wonderful Francesco Izzo, a wonderful gentleman who teaches at the University of Southampton and who also is quite famous for his critical editions of the Verdi Ricordi scores.
And who is the direttore scientifico of the Verdi Festival in Parma, the Festival del Teatro Regio di Parma, the most
to the stage
audience in Italy.
Yes.
If you make it in Parma, you make it everywhere.
He's very kind and very knowledgeable, and another wonderful guest. From the score to the stage, reading between the lines and pages. April 8th, 8 p.m. here live. I'll send a Zoom invite. We will send Facebook invites. Please be there, spread the word and make it happen, okay? So, baci a tutto.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, and empowering wishes for everyone.
And to you.
Thank you.
Big hug to
you.
Mark.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I can't do
Bye-bye.
this. I would. There.
Bye.